Welcome, 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 miracle makers. I'm so excited that you're here. Today is an incredible day, and we get to hear from one of the gems in society. Today, we're talking about connecting to your infinite potential. I know an incredible woman, and I want you to know her too. She has done so much for women, the international women and men. I'm going to have her describe all of the work that she's done. We've got Michelle Patterson online with us. Welcome. There's so much I could say about you, and I want your voice to be, and I can talk on, and I want your voice. I want our miracle makers to have as much of you as possible, because you organize women, you organize events, you help companies. The women's network that you've put together has been around for, I think, 30 years. Michelle?
Yes.
I'd love for you to talk about as if no one has heard about you yet, and just share, because everyone, you have to be under a rock not to know about you, but the international audience might not fully realize the breadth of your work. So please share.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah Larsen. And I'm so excited just to spend this next hour with you. And it's exciting for me in the midst of this conference. And the conference, we're celebrating our 30th year. I haven't put on the conference for 30 years. I actually interviewed the governor that started the conference for the 8th grade school paper. So I was able to go ahead and connect with the governor at the ripe old age of 12. But what I really want to do is be able to go and really start off at a place of, this is about men and women coming together to honor and celebrate women. And it's not about a person, a country, a presidency. This is about women collectively coming together and holding on to each other. And so for me, putting on a global event, an event that has been around for 30 years, that is the largest, longest running conference globally, it truly is about collaboration. It's being able to show up and so what happens is I show up in my genius, you show up in your genius, your amazing producer shows up in his genius, but everybody has their gift. And I believe that none of us were given all the gifts, but when we collectively come together, that's when we create the magic. That's when we're able to do amazing things together. And so I don't have that pressure of like, oh, the world is on my shoulders, because it truly is about everyone coming together and celebrating their true gifts. And that's what it's about. And I'm having a blast. That doesn't go without having days where, you do have those moments where, it's like, okay, how am I going to do this? And when I do that, that's truly your ego talking. It's keeping things in perspective and recognizing, my gift, I show up and I'm a great connector. That's the gift that I've been given. I'm able to go ahead and work with people. And oftentimes I will be able to see and experience their gift before they even know what it is that their gift is. Yes. And that's my gift, and I'll pull it together. But recognizing too, I'm not great at accounting. I'm not great at the bookkeeping, or I have a phenomenal executive producer. Vanessa.
It's so beautiful, because I want to sum this up a little bit for our miracle makers that are listening. It's amazing that you started at age 12 and you reached out and co-created. You met with and asked at 12 years old from the governor to put on something, to create something. Is that correct?
Well, actually, so what happened was, and just to share with the audience, because I believe each and every one of the members that are listening in have that same ability. They can do whatever they want to do, whatever makes their
You
heart
can
sing.
connect to your infinite potential. You can connect to
You
that
absolutely can.
infinite potential. You are a miracle maker. And at 12 years old, you knew that. And you were able to connect with someone who had already made miracles because of the space that you were coming from. This amazing, incredible space that you were in. And you followed that up by knowing what your strengths are and inviting others with their strengths to connect and to shine.
And also, and then what happens when you do it that way, you don't feel the pressure of the whole world because you're not supposed to show up. We weren't made to have all the gifts. We were
Yes.
made to show up in our own true genius and then collaborate and celebrate together. So when
When
you look at
when did you know that you were stepping into your genius as a connector? How did that awareness come to you?
it really is something that you practice every day, because it's easy to forget that. It's easy to feel overwhelmed. It's easy to feel like you are, that things aren't going the way. And so I show up every day. Is I start my day off with gratitude and just being thankful that I get to go on this journey, that I get to be on a phone call, with Dr. Larsen. So it's going in with that mindset. I mean, I pinch myself because I get to interact with change agents, with people that are stepping outside of themselves, and they're truly humanitarians, and they're helping do something for others. The happiest people in our world are people that are of service to other people. Those are truly the happiest people. And I tell my girlfriends, I tell my friends, when you're having a rough day and you're in a situation where you feel like, gosh, I'm stuck, and get out of your own way. Focus on something for someone else. Do something for someone else, because very quickly you will find yourself in a place where you are of gratitude, and you are feeling that excitement, and you're not having what I refer to sometimes as the pity party. I mean, and I've had those. I had one yesterday, where I got up and it was like the day just wasn't going right, and what happens is it's that spiral effect versus stopping and saying, okay, how can I use my gift to help another person? How can I directly affect somebody else's situation? And that's what happened with me with the California Women's Conference. I interviewed the governor when I was 12 years old. And when I interviewed him, I wore a back brace. I had scoliosis. I was painfully shy. I didn't share my words, but I love to write. And there was 2 years, it was middle school, and there's a lot of people out there that can relate, to me, is that period of time where you're bullied, and
Yes.
and you're just awkward. But there was 2 years where I sat and had lunch by myself for 2 years, and I would just write. And I ended up getting selected to interview Governor George Deukmejian for the 8th grade school paper. And I'm interviewing him, and I'm asking, really important, profound questions, very, very political questions, like, what's your favorite hobby? How many kids do you have? What's your
Yes.
favorite color? And he looks at me, Governor George Deukmejian looks at me, and he says, Michelle, that was the best interview I've ever heard. And I can remember, 12 years old, I can remember thinking, wow, like, I matter. I have a voice. I need to share that voice. And my little back, I wore this back brace, which was not very attractive, but it literally came up, up
Around
above
your
my collar.
neck. Yeah.
And I remember my back straightened up, and I left there, and I thought, you know what, I have a purpose. I'm going to share, and the world needs me. And so I was student body president of my high school. I ran for student body president. I went to Loyola Marymount University. And you can see the picture that's up right now with my little feathered hair and my buck teeth. And I'm there with Governor George Duke Majan. But I left there and I was on a mission. And what's so amazing about this story is that here, 20 plus years later, I get a phone call, and the phone call is, Michelle, will you take on the California Women's Conference that had been canceled? And the conference, I got this phone call, and it was, will you take this on? And here I had the opportunity to go back in and do a press conference at Governor George Duke Majan's home. He's lived in the same house for over 50 years.
Wow.
And we're not talking about politics. We're not talking about, what's happening in government. What we were talking about was the fact that he inspired this 12-year-old kid who now, no accidents, now was leading this group of 1,000 people that were putting on the California Women's Conference. So my message out to your group is I when I show up and I'm doing stuff, for me, I absolutely have fear. I mean, it's scary when you're putting on a global event and you are pushing, and you're reaching out to all parts of the world. But what happened was my passion is greater than my fear. And my passion to help support women and for men and women to come together and truly give the resources and the tools to women so that they can in turn follow their passion and live their best life. And that's what that's about.
It's so incredible. At 12 years old, you didn't have a degree, you didn't have friends, but you had the ability to write. Miracle makers, whatever resource as long as you don't perceive it as missing and you search for the resources within you, what can you do? What are the places that you can reach out to? And you created this amazing ability from writing. The insight came and you took action on it, Michelle, and it's so profound. And years later, the invite came back in full circle for you to be able to stand on the story as a 12-year-old and now to stand on this story that you're creating with your action, with your bravery, with your resources to bring to the global stage what you believe in, along with what serves the greatest good, what connects to the infinite potential. You connected at 12 because you were still in this space and inspired by something. That inspiration, I want to find out, is your back straight for those that can't see us? Where is your scoliosis?
Yeah, so I'm a tall drink of water. I'm 5'9.5", almost 5'10", and walk straight up. And it's funny because when I was a kid, my parents laugh now because they used to say to me, Michelle, straighten up, and just that confidence. And recognizing that I do have a gift and you have a gift. And again, collectively, we show up collectively together. But I walk strong, and it's amazing when you meet people. And we focus with the conference, the California Women's Conference. Our focus is on helping women achieve their 5 to thrive. And so you've got the 5 areas. It's career, physical, financial, social, and community. And what's interesting is those 5 areas, it's not having all 5 working at the same exact time, but to be able to go ahead and touch those 5 areas so that you're able to live your best life. And you think about the financial one. This was the one that really surprised me because you think, oh, people who have the millions of dollars and the billionaire, I mean, they're not the happiest people. The people that once the roof over your head is covered and you have your bare, essentials, the happiness meter doesn't jump off the charts and go to that next level when you get that X million. It truly is when you are of service and you are giving back.
And what I've found is it's incredible because it's a moment by moment process. Happiness comes in your brain chemistry. It's moment by moment. You can stand up straight. You can bring it physically. I love the 5 pillars that you just shared there, Michelle. Those were so great. Those 5 areas, because there's a reference to how we show up in the world. In community, another can recognize you when you're part of a community and you're stuck in the thickness of yourself or the way that you see yourself. Someone in the community can reflect back to you the longevity of what you've done or what special skill set that you bring or a past service that you did or invite you to a future service. And we've found in science now that whenever a little bit of depression comes in or illness comes in, even things like blood pressure, if you connect with others, your blood pressure goes down. If you find service, your serotonin, your dopamine, your brain chemistry improves and brings you out of the way that you spiral down sometimes habitually. And the more that you do in community, the more that you stand up straight in your body, the more that you get accustomed to talking about your finances, the more those are all integrated. It's so beautiful. And so you're standing tall at 5'9", at 12, interviewing. Now at this age, being able to connect with community and choosing who you want to put up on stage at this point, connecting with 1,000. I heard you say that many people it takes to put on this conference, this California Women's Conference that affects the international world, the way that we see ourselves. It's like a new reset pulse point when men and women get together and honor the work that's been done, honor what can be done, and co-create in community the next collective way to work on women, to give resources. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's when you look at the conference, I mean, we've got organizations that are coming in that help women put together a business plan, that help to do a pitch. We have a speak off that's happening. We've got people coming from Russia, I mean, all over the world to collectively come together and to provide content and resources and training around these 5 pillars: career, physical, financial, social, and community. And when you show up, you're interacting with thought leaders, you're interacting with mentors, you have the opportunity to partner with a mentee. And it's the fastest way when we look at making a difference in our world, the fastest way that we can make change is by giving women the resources and the tools to be successful. And so that's why you're seeing it. It's the week of Mother's Day. It's scheduled for May 10th and 11th. Mother's Day falls on that weekend. And you've got, Wednesday and Thursday where women can come together and honor each other. And we've got men who are coming. It's Bring Your Mom to Conference Day. It's being able to go ahead and celebrate one another. We've got some really, really neat stories of individuals that are coming in and performing, and some different musical artists. Gladys Knight is going to be coming to the conference. So it's an opportunity for us to show up collectively together. We have a big awards ceremony in Sparique where we've partnered with Tia Walker, who's been doing a phenomenal job, for the last decade, putting together an awards ceremony. And that awards ceremony is going to be happening at the California Women's Conference, where we'll be honoring some pretty spectacular recipients. that have been
I
just doing
love Tia
phenomenal
Walker
things.
so much, and
Isn't she great?
she is
Yeah, she's
amazing. And I'm one of the recipients. Like Gina Davis was one of the recipients. Oprah Winfrey received the prize. Barbara DeAngelis received a prize from that organization. It's so magnificent, and the work that you do with creating that, the resources, the social. All of what you create is the art of getting women's voices heard. And the phenomenal mentors. I'd love for you to talk about some of I know you have great friendships. One of the videos that I watched was you and a girlfriend sitting down and talking together and sharing how you show up for each other. How did you start that friendship? And what are ways that women in friendship can support one another from this space? I'd love to talk about that, because today we've been taught, or the old world thinking was women have to compete, that men have to compete, that there aren't enough resources. And what we know now is when we share our resources, we create more resources. When we're there for one another, we create together so much more richer experiences for one another. And when you give to a woman, it gives to everyone she's connected with. And women being able to give to women is one of the greatest gifts I think we're getting in our generation. The voices of, it's not competition at all. It is collaboration. It is synergy. And if you could talk about how you created that for yourself in friendship, and how you're creating that, how you can continue to create that, because that is part of us connecting to our infinite potential.
Well, and thank you for asking that. So one of the things that we did was, here we had this amazing conference, and it was happening, once a year. And the mindset was, Michelle, you've got this amazing conference, but what happens 365 days out of the year? What happens the rest of the time? And so what we ended up doing was we created Women Network. And what Women Network is, it's an opportunity, it's an organization for women to come in from all over the world to be a part of this. And it hit me really like somebody was throwing a brick at me, because I was at an event and we were focused on human trafficking. And we invited the executive directors that were dealing with this horrific issue of human trafficking. And I remember getting up and standing up and welcoming everyone. And in the front row, there was two women that were in tears. And they had been talking before we started the conference. And they were talking and they said, and I stopped. I said, why are you crying? I mean, we haven't even started talking about the issue of human trafficking. And we had CAST there. We had Truckers Against Trafficking. We had YWCA. And these two women said, we've never had coffee together. We have the same passion, the same mission to eradicate something as horrific as human trafficking, but we've never come together. We see each other's posts and advertisements for different events, and we come in and it's this mindset of scarcity that I am having to go ahead and protect my dollars and not share. And it hit me, and it was, that is the issue. If we can come together, think about all these different organizations, and we can work collectively together, and you have 100 million women, that join efforts and join forces and work collectively together, then we can eradicate something as horrific as human trafficking. Doing it independently and competing, for that one spot, we're not going to be able to achieve that. And that's what's happening now, is that we're recognizing and stepping into our power. We're recognizing that we are 78% of the consumer, 85% of the decision maker. We recognize that we have so much to give back. And so your point, Dr. Sarah, prior with competing for that one spot, we don't have to do that anymore. And I don't have to show up and be like, oh, I could put this whole thing on myself. I can't. It's not physically possible. But what I can do is I can go in and I can tap on my girlfriends, and I can go to the Tia Walkers and the Adrian Brandis, and I can go to a Benisa, and I can be vulnerable, and I can say, I need help, and I think that's the biggest piece, is that what happens is as women, we come in and we think that we have to show that we have it all together and that it's perfectly all figured out, and that we can't ask for the help. And then when we create that courage to ask, then we don't receive. And so my challenge to our members and to your audience is ask. People want to help. We're happiest when we are helping. We're happiest when we are of service. People want to help you, but they just need to know. They need to know what you need support with.
Miracle makers, this is such a beautiful point. Miracles happen when you ask. And when you ask clearly, when you know for yourself and you ask clearly, and the first time you ask, it might not be clear, but the person who's hearing you will ask you questions. And if you can stay with the energy within yourself, the knowing within yourself, miracle makers, that asking, you'll get better and better at asking. It's a skill set, just like walking, just like anything else that you learn to do. The power of the process comes. I'm a power walker. I'm a runner now. Right. You sit up straight and you did and that started from training those little muscles all along the way. It came first with a brace. It came first in that scenario, but you wound up being able to do it standing up straight, asking, walking. All of them are there. You have to build the muscle. And the more you ask, the better you will get at asking. And the more you ask based on why you're asking. So Michelle asks because she knows that getting phenomenal people up on stage, connecting women, will help the companies, the countries that flourish, that hear what happens statistically when a woman is involved, when a woman is given resources, when she's in the conversation with making decisions. They help the company be able to reach the 78% of the buying power. They help the company, but she had to learn how to ask in the first place. Her skill set, that connection, came in early. She teaches companies how to ask the consumers in a way that will help them be served, both the company and the consumer. These are pretty big muscles, but it all started just like we started one-on-one, one step forward, one step to the next step to the next step. Ask if you're in a relationship. Ask the person you're in a relationship, how can I ask you to get my needs met in a way that is not threatening? So one of the things that I do with my husband is when my husband's giving me feedback on how I should be in the world or how I should express myself, I ask him to say, next time, would you do this? So that I'm not afraid to ask him for help or make a request. So we're driving along in the car and I make a request and he's like, baby, how can I possibly remember all that you're asking me right now? And he shares with me all of the ways that he feels. And so I go, oh, that's really, really interesting, because I used to be afraid to ask for help, even from my husband. I was afraid to ask my parents for help or my teachers for help. In the culture that I came from, you don't ask elders. They give to you or you receive from them freely. It's kind of interesting. Like, our elders are mind readers, sort of, and they're the ones that choose when to give. And so for me, a huge skill set that I had to learn, Michelle, it's no accident that you're here. That huge skill set was to ask how to ask for help. And so when I was asking my husband and he would give me feedback early on, I would get a little bit shut down. And then I realized I need him to say next time in front of whatever feedback he was giving me. So I learned to ask, and I also learned to ask for how I wanted to be connected with as well. We got really great at being able to communicate. This is part of what it means to be in a community, to be social, to also know your physical vitality, and also to have those finances. And I know, Michelle, there's one other of the 5 pillars, one that I'm missing that I haven't mentioned, that you teach in the women's conference: the community, the social, the financial, the physical wellness. And what is the 5th wellness?
Yeah, and then career. And I'd love to spend do we have a couple minutes to spend on?
We have so much. Yeah, we do. We have time.
You're going to love this. And I have to tell you, Dr. Sarah, I so know why you were a recipient of the Inspireek Award, because any women that I meet, it's just they embody, I mean, you glow. You know, it's wonderful to be around you, and just that down to earth and sharing the conversation you're having with your husband, because I'm coming up on 20 years of being married to just my rock, my best friend. Yes. I mean, we go through our ups and downs, challenges, but he's my best guy, and it's so nice. So I love that. So I'm gonna absolutely use that this next time. I love that. That's wonderful. So let me say thank you on behalf of him. He'll appreciate that. So I have a quick little story to share. So corporate America, I was the youngest vice president for a publicly held company I worked for 13 years. So the running joke in my family, and I've got two teenagers. They're actually almost out of being teenagers. I have one who's 19, who's at UCLA. And then I've got another one that's turning 18. So they're only 16 months apart.
Wow.
Jacqueline and then my son Chase. And they're brilliant human beings. So the running joke with my family was, Michelle, if it wasn't for the fact that you were birthing the children, you would have missed the birth. I was constantly like, one more phone call. In fact, my husband, he got to the hospital for our first child before I did, and I was still working, and he's calling, and he goes, "Where are you? Where are you? I can't do this without you." And I'm like, I have one more phone call. I'm almost there, and it was just this running joke. And so fast forward, I'll be 47 May 2nd. And so the conference happens in May. It's
your birthday party. It's
my birthday party. A great way for me to give back. Cynthia Kersey with Unstoppable Foundation. I think she does, that's her birthday party. And again, we're happiest as human beings. So I end up sitting down and I go through what we refer to as our best life blueprint. And I set up my 5 to thrive. And I sit down and really take time to go through, what is it that I want to give back? What do I want to be of service? How do I want to have my career, my physical, financial? What is it that I want to have happen? Not what somebody else wants, not what my husband wants, my kids, but what makes my heart just sing, right? So I write it all out and put in, deadlines. And one of the pieces I put in was I was not going to miss a recital. I wasn't going to miss a birthday. I wasn't going to miss, and I had been traveling a lot, and I wasn't going to miss this. And so I write it, I put it away. Well, a couple months later, I get a phone call, and I just come out with my book, Women Change the World. And I get this phone call, and it's the United Nations, and the UN calls, and they said, "We want you to come and speak at the UN, and we want to speak about your book. And for me, it was the call of all calls. It was like, this is right in alignment with my career. It's exactly what I want to be doing. This is so exciting. And I immediately said, absolutely, count me in. I'm there whenever you need me. Then they said, February 26th. And right away, I cringed because that's the date of my daughter's 16th birthday. And so they said this to me, and I said, I'm going to have to decline. I'm on the West Coast. This would be happening in New York. Thank you so much, but I'm not going to be able to do it. And I remember hanging up the phone, and the wheels were turning. I was trying to think of different ways I can do it, but I just knew I couldn't be in both places at the same time. And I wasn't willing to give up those special times of being the mom. I'd already given up, and I'd already had that mom guilt happening. And so a couple days later, 3 days later, the phone rings again, and it's the UN, and they call up and they said, bring her with you. Bring her with you. And this story still gets me emotional. So they call back and bring her with you. Well, I'm like excited because here I'm going to celebrate, at the Big Apple, my daughter's 16th birthday. So I go to my daughter. She, of course, is super excited. We fly out, and I get to the UN, and she's sitting in the second row, and I open with the conversation of, I want to thank the United Nations because I did not have to opt out. I didn't have to make a decision between pursuing my career or being a mom. And I'm celebrating my daughter's 16th birthday today. And at that moment, and if you can imagine, it takes your breath away, the UN, where everyone's hooked up. They're all speaking different languages. It's this, huge, auditorium.
It's filled with different colors and races and creeds.
All different.
And you're at the center. All eyes are on you.
All eyes. And at that moment, the secretary, he's sitting next to my daughter. So he nudges her, and she stands up because I'm acknowledging it's their 16th birthday today. And there's a woman that's getting honored for Girl Scouts of America. In the very, very, very back, this little woman stands up on the top of her lungs, just by herself, starts singing happy birthday as loud as she possibly can to the entire United Nations.
Aww.
And there, my daughter's standing up, and the entire UN starts singing happy birthday to her. And all of a sudden, so she's standing up. There's not a dry eye in the entire house. And so it comes back over, they take the mic back, and the secretary says, he goes, in all my years, 30 years I've been with the UN, I've never heard the UN sing happy birthday. And he goes, and this is why we need women. We need women because women create those moments in time. Women create those differences. And so my daughter, who now is getting ready to graduate from UCLA, she comes up, she takes the mic, and she says, at 16, she says to the United Nations, she says, I want to thank you for changing my life today. Because of you, my mission is to help other girls my age have the same experience that you gave me. And I was so proud, but I also was proud of being able to hold that space for what was important to me. And that was something that came directly from me taking time to sit down and go, what's important to me? Like when I'm going to live my best life,
yes,
and I'm going to live it to the fullest, and I'm going to give back, what's important. And I think about that. I think about that day often, because I think about what if I would have said, you know what, I'm going to the UN, and I would have missed that I would have missed that experience. I would have missed that celebration. I would have missed celebrating my birthday with my daughter. and be able to do that. And then my message is to women is you don't have to opt out. You don't have to make a choice between your family, between your career, you get to live your best life and have the 5 to thrive. But you have to be the one to make those choices. It can't be somebody else making those choices for you. You have to define what it is that makes your heart sing.
It's so beautiful. You can have it all. You really, truly can.
You really can.
You really can.
You might not be able to have it all at the same time, exactly the same time,
Yes.
but it requires you to really get clear. And you said it, Dr. Sarah Larsen, you said it earlier, is that clarity.
Yes.
And again, it's not what your partner at work wants, or your husband, what is it that is, because that's when you get alignment with what your true gift is.
Yes.
That comes together is when you're digging.
When you've got it inside yourself, the first step in that is deciding what's really valuable to you. And if it isn't valuable, you have to first make a decision. And in the pursuit of it, or in the receiving of it, you might realize, wow, it really wasn't that important. And then you can let it go. But if you don't give yourself permission to pursue it and to wrap your life around those things that you truly value, you can miss out. And the thing is, your body, dear miracle makers, your memory, your physicality knows. Michelle's would have known if she would have chosen to go to the UN without her daughter. Her body would have known, and it would have amplified her power, her personal power less, because she compromised on something she knew. She held fast to what she had learned and knew was really valuable, part of her mission, part of her purpose, part of her why she does everything. And because she was congruent and her actions and her words matched that, the world around her shifted and invited her and her daughter in. Her daughter and her at the UN at the same time caused the Girl Scout woman, caused the leader right there, all to celebrate her daughter, women's voices. It became such a connection because Michelle was connected to herself, to her knowing, her connection amplified through her daughter, through the UN, through everything in the world that came together at that moment, literally in a space where the world comes together to honor what you truly value. So miracle makers, know what you value, know your values, get congruent with taking action with those values, and really consider the 5 pillars, those 5 things that Michelle is sharing here, and truly find women that are in your life that you can give to right now. It comes back to you tenfold. The UN gave to Michelle. Michelle was able to give to every woman and every man there in unified song, happy birthday to this young girl, joy in their heart for connecting in their own way. Multiple languages, they don't normally connect that way. An interpreter does it, but everyone is familiar with the happy birthday song in whatever language. And Michelle, we've only got about 3 minutes, and I would love for you to share what comes through so powerfully for you. And I'm so honored. I cannot express the gratitude in my heart for you being here and for all the amazing work that you're doing. You are in my prayers. This women's conference is in my prayers, and your family and this great work. Completely. I'm so one with what you're creating. Thank you so much. And so you've got the last 3 minutes or 2 minutes.
No, so I want to extend an invitation and invite all of you to the California Women's Conference. Be a part of this global movement. It's May 10th and 11th, which is a Wednesday and a Thursday. And we are at the Long Beach Convention Center celebrating our 30th year. We've got close to 100 different speakers, events that are all under one roof. And it's an opportunity for women to come together and bring your genius, and let's support one another and be able to leave there with get connected, get inspired, and get results. I mean, have definitive results of how you can go ahead and pursue your mission and your passion and what makes your heart just sing. So I look forward to seeing you all there.
We look forward to seeing you there. And Layla Ali's been part of it. Forbes Riley has been part of it. There's so many incredible women. Ariana Huffington, Jack Canfield, amazing people that come in and share and give. So it's for both men and women and young girls and young boys as well. And so we'll be there. I can't wait. Happy Mother's Day to you, Michelle, because when you give at this level, you are creating the gift for all of Earth and all mothers and all children. When you give to Mother, you give to everyone she's part of. When you give to a woman that she is mothering the world, you are a phenomenal mentor as well.
Right. I'm looking at one right now. So. To share in that excitement. So thank you for doing what you do. And it was wonderful spending some time with you.
Same here. We will do this again. I am so grateful. Miracle Makers, subscribe to this. Make sure you follow the links to the Women's Conference. There'll be so much here. Please share this with another woman or with another man that you know it will make a difference. Miracle Makers, thank you for being here. You are the reason we're doing this. Your love, your oneness, your ability to initiate and activate what is your specialness inside you. No one else can deliver what you can deliver. And the world, we want you to have it all. And we know you can. And so until next time, thank you.
The past is history. The future mystery.